Welcome to the Association Management Series presented by Rayborn Group International. This session will be Give Your Members What They Want, Tips and Tricks to Keep Your Website Fresh, presented by Brooke Pritchett, CAE. Brooke has worked in association management since 2005 and is an expert in developing and implementing integrated marketing and communication strategies to help associations thrive. Before joining the RGI team in 2015, Brooke served in a number of communication roles for various organizations, including Delta Tau Delta, Indiana State Teachers Association, and the Indiana House of Representatives. Brooke is a graduate of Indiana University, where she studied journalism and political science. And now, I will turn it over to Brooke.
Welcome, everybody. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. So this session is all about giving your members what they want from your website. We're going to break it down into a couple of different things. It's what every website should do and what every website is expected to do by your members. So let's go ahead and get started here. There are 5 things that every website should do. And the very first and most important thing is it should tell the mission of your association. You know, I kind of like to dive a little bit deeper when talking about the mission. It's more than just having your mission statement on your header of your website. It's about living the mission through your entire association website and everything that you say. The other thing that your website should do is really tell the unique selling points that your association is good at. Tell the story of your association. It should be easy for your visitors to see why they choose to interact with you rather than a competitor. The third item that every website should do is provide a really simple path to membership. It should be easy to find, it should have easy action items, and it should be something that your visitors know how to quickly and easily do to become a member or renew their membership. Next, your website should really celebrate your association successes. So this is another part of telling your association story, but it really helps your visitors get to know who you are and what makes you stand out among the crowd. I also like to add in a little caveat here that when you're celebrating your association successes, that doesn't just have to be a successful webinar that you hosted or a successful event. I also like to celebrate my members' successes when I'm telling my association story because they really are the foundation of our associations. And then finally, the final thing that every website should do is enhance the current member experience. So all of your current members who are coming to visit your website should really find every benefit of their membership within the website. You know, that could be things like continuing education webinars, job boards, resources, anything that you consider a member value proposition should be held within that association website. So now we figured out kind of the high level of what websites should do. But we all know there's a difference between what something should do and what people think it should do. There are 4 key things that your members really need from your association website. Easy navigation, quick reads, clear calls to action, and quick availability of reaching out to you. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into each of these 4 things that your members want, okay? When I talk about navigation, I talk about how your members or your visitors get to where they need to be on your website. A lot of times, there are ways to make your website easier to navigate, but I always recommend starting with a really clear sitemap, okay, or a diagram. Now, some people might think this is something that I need to do when I'm redesigning a website or starting a website for the first time, but really you can do it at any time. So here is an example of a diagram that I created for a website recently. And so here's my home page. And then these are menu structure items, my About menu, journals, conferences, and then these are my drop downs within each of these hierarchy menu items. And really, you can change this up at any time, and don't be afraid to change up your hierarchy of your menu structure. I recently changed my menu ordering on my website to make our most visited pages some of the very first menu items that people see. Another really easy way to help your visitors navigate your website is to leave a trail of breadcrumbs. I know that that sounds a little bit crazy, but what it means is show them exactly where they are on their website. So this is one of my websites, and as you can see, somebody on a page can follow exactly how they've gotten to the page that they are in. It doesn't have to be this complex, but a lot of content management systems that you are currently using, like Wild Apricot and Your Membership, do allow for this breadcrumb function to exist on your website. So if you are using one of those content management systems that allows for it, I highly recommend it. Now, in this example, we have our breadcrumbs at the top of our website, but some prefer to keep them near the bottom of their pages. This helps to keep the page clean and easy to read, so it doesn't feel as front and center. And then the next one is kind of key at this. I mean, we all know that you need to be able to find your way home, but the easiest way to do it is with your logo. Always have your logo on every single page. Not only does it help with branding, but we've worked in websites for so long that we now know the minute we touch this logo and click on this logo, we're going to go straight back home. It's sort of inherent at this point. So I always recommend keeping your logo throughout your website. So the second thing that visitors really want are quick and easy reads. I break my quick reads into two different categories: pages with changing content, and then pages that have more static content. I want to talk about changing content first. What is changing content? You know, changing content includes items like news stories, event updates, job postings, association business, that sort of stuff that you really want to emphasize on your website in short bursts, and you know that that's going to change from month to month. So how do you really highlight those quick reads? I really like front website page alerts. I think that's a great way to get something that's timely and relevant out there quickly to your visitors. I especially like slideshows on front pages because I'm going to sit on a front page for an average of 15 seconds. So if I can see 4 to 5 slides of what's going on within that association quickly, I'll know exactly where I need to go. Another way to really highlight those quick changing content pages is changing text sizes, you know, and make them a hierarchy. The more important the article or the news piece, the larger the text. And then the final thing that I like to do is create RSS feeds on the front page of my website. So if you're not familiar with RSS feeds, they are automated tools that you can drop onto your website, and they help pull your content in for you. So for example, if you have a blog or a news page, you can create an RSS feed and put that on your front page, and that will automatically scroll through your news. It's just a really easy way for people to find what they're looking for without having to travel too deep into your website. So again, I wanted to pull out the Illinois Paralegal Association as a good example. As you can see here, they have a really nice sized scrolling membership panel, and they have about 6 different panels that they scroll through. Really clean and easy to read. So the other type of quick read are what I would consider your static pages. Those are pages that don't always change, but they're pages that really have a call to action to them. I've pulled pulled out the Rocky Mountain Paralegal Association page here because this is a portion of the front page of their website. And as you can see, they are very clear in what their quick reads are. They have their careers, their positions, how to join, update your membership, and your contact information. So, you know, the membership benefits page probably isn't changing on a fairly consistent basis, but it's important enough that it should be on the front page of your website. And the same with career and your contact information. So the next thing that all website visitors want are really clear calls to action. But before you can talk about cleaning up your calls to action, I really encourage people to define what those are. You know, is it to grow your membership, increase registration at events, or maybe call for volunteers and have more volunteers at the ready, submit applications for awards or nominations for board positions. Whatever those calls to action are, they need to be defined before you can really put them out there. So once you have your calls to action defined, go through your website and make sure that they are front and center and they're easy for any member to access with fewer than 3 clicks. That it's proven that if people have to click a lot to get to what they're looking for, they're generally just going to give up. So calls to action on the front of your website, front page of your website, are incredibly important, or maybe have them only 1 page deep if you can't have them on the front page. How do we make our calls to action more clear though? You know, I always like to use action-oriented voice and an active voice. I use a lot of persuasive text and use words that are really going to move a person. Make a person who's reading your website feel like you're talking to them. Use the word you and us and how we can help you, and give them that individualized experience when they're reading your website. I also like to use really strong visuals. And you know, that can be everything from stock photos to photos of your members or video of your members. Instead of posting a call to action that says volunteer, we need volunteers for this event, maybe post a call to action with a photo of people volunteering instead. That can grab a little bit more attention. And then finally, of course, make your calls to action really easy to find. Like I said, on the front or first to second hierarchy pages are ideal. If you have to go 3 deep, then they won't be as easy to find and people won't be able to use them as much. So the next thing that every website visitor really wants is an easy way to get in touch with you. And that's the Contact Us page. I know that it sounds crazy to be talking about a Contact Us page because it seems so simple, but nothing is more frustrating than when you need to get a hold of somebody or you need to find some information and you hit Contact Us and the only thing that pops up is your email with an email address that says info@paralegal.org or whatever the case might be. Help people get to you more quickly and more easily, and their customer service experience with you will improve dramatically. So I highly recommend providing more than just an email address if possible. I know a lot of us are volunteers, and so sometimes it's not so easy to grab those phone calls that might be coming in. But if you can provide more than just an email address, that's definitely a bonus. A lot of websites nowadays have chatbot functions. So if your content management system provides you with a chatbot function, I highly recommend it. If you're unfamiliar with what those are, if you're on a website, you might get a little pop-up window a few minutes after you've been on that website, and it'll be a picture of somebody there, and it'll say, "Hi, my name is Brooke, and how can I help you interact with us today?" And then that person can automatically reply in that chatbot and get to interact with you, with a member in an immediate way. And that's very helpful. If a chatbot is not necessarily something you can do, then I really recommend expanding your Contact Us field. Help people find exactly what they're looking for. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is expanding upon your generic Contact Us page. A lot of times a Contact Us page will just have an generic email address and then a mailing address, maybe not even a phone number. So one of the things I do is I break out by staff function. So if you have a question about an upcoming conference and you go to my Contact Us page, you see a picture of our conference director. You see exactly what her role is within the association, exactly how to contact her with her email address and her phone number, and you can go from there. However, we also have a somebody who supports us in exhibits within our conferences. And so you can reach out to that person directly if you want to exhibit with us. Or if you have a membership question, you go straight to the membership director. I like to add photos because I like to remind our visitors that we're human and that we're here to serve you, and I want to build that relationship. I think it's really important to remember that we're not anonymous within our website. We want to build a one-on-one relationship with each of our members. So now that we've covered like the 4 main areas of what people want from us, let's talk about how we kind of get to that middle ground, what they want from us and what we want our website to do. Okay, so most associations want their website visitors to be really engaged. Read a story, register for a webinar, extend a membership. You know, the possibilities are endless. So these engagement points are all driven by content and the story that your website tells. So now we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what you're actually saying on your website. We've talked about the functionality, and now we're going to go into what do we say now that our website is functioning on a really high level. What are we saying? Content is any story, any photo, any sort of collateral that you are constantly adding to your website. And I say this is the most important thing that you can do for your website is make sure your content is continually updated, clean, relevant, and easy to read. So I always recommend adding content to your website at least every few days, every 3 to 4 days, if not more often. The more you add, the easier it is for people to see and be encouraged to visit your website more often. It also increases your ability to be found by search engines. So not many people have heard of search engine optimization, but what that is when you're continually adding content, if somebody goes to search the word paralegal and your location, so let's say you're in Ohio and somebody searches Ohio paralegal, there are many opportunities for the search engine to return results. So Google could return 100 job postings, but we want your website to be one of the first 10 things that Google shows when somebody has searched Ohio and the word paralegal. So the more often you update your content and the more often you add to your website, the more often that will bump you up into those first 10 listings under a search that is relevant to you. So the reason why this is important is because, again, people don't like to click more than they have to. How many times have you been on Google and you don't go more than 2 to 3 pages deep in your Google search? You go to Google because you want instant results. And by improving your content, by continually updating it, that improves your search engine optimization, and that keeps you in those first 10 results. Once you've created your content, though, just as a little caveat, I always recommend cross-posting it. So make sure you're sharing it on your social media channels, on your LinkedIn channels, everywhere. And you can share the same content more than once. So if you've sent out an email blast about something that's going on, you can then post it on your website, of course, but then repost it 3 days later, but change the concept of your content just a little bit, reword it, make it easier to read the second time around, and that will keep it fresh. That kind of goes into being what I call a word nerd. Of course, I've mentioned before, make sure your content's always an active voice, and use words from your mission and your value statements across your pages. This is really helpful in reinforcing your mission to every visitor who comes to see you. So, for example, my client's mission statement includes the term serving society. So I use those two words constantly throughout my content. How am I serving society when I'm promoting a conference? How does it serve society to talk about a membership benefit? Use those words when you're explaining everything that you do. This also helps you to stay on brand. So, when people think about your association, they automatically associate you with your mission. Another thing I want to reiterate is using words like you, we, those first person sort of interactions help to make people feel engaged and valued, and it also makes them feel like their experience is targeted directly to them. And then finally, divide and conquer. So let's say you want to promote a webinar. You want to talk about the topic of the webinar, the presenter, and maybe intended outcomes. It's in our nature to want to get all of that information out to our end users as soon as possible and think that they can ingest all of that information in one big gulp. I recommend dividing that information into 3 separate parts. So today, you provide content on, here's a webinar that we're hosting in 3 weeks, here's the topic. And then next Monday, you write a second quick blurb, like a 2-paragraph blurb. Here's the webinar that we're going to have in 3 weeks, and here's all about our speaker and the qualifications that our speaker has. And then a third blurb about 4 to 5 days later. Here's the webinar that we're going to have, and here are some intended outcomes that can benefit you if you are going to be attending this webinar. So now, not only have you made your information easier to read because we've already decided that our visitors really like that quick content, but you've also created 3 different opportunities to update your website. I know that all seems really overwhelming and like a lot of extra work, but think about the time that you would spend providing one larger piece of content and break it down into 3 chunks, and it's really about the same amount of time. Another thing that you really want to do with your website is create community. I know that we talk about community and engagement a lot when it comes to our associations, but your website can really offer a great opportunity to create that feeling of community. Beyond reading and ingesting what you put out there, there are lots of fun ways to get your readers engaged. I always recommend commenting functionality be turned on when you're posting blog posts or news stories or anything that you want to put out there. This really allows your readers to engage quickly and really keep the conversation going. I also make sure that there are social media buttons on everything that I do. It's one thing for me to share a story on social media, but let's say the president reads this story and then shares it via his own social media channels. It's going to gain even more traction. I like to add some fun quizzes throughout, and they don't have to be anything too in-depth, but let's say you post a 3-paragraph story and then just add a quick little fun survey at the end, and then the survey results can auto-populate. People love to see where they are in relation to others, especially others within their same field or profession. So add a fun little quiz. I also like to do contests for readers to participate in, fun little giveaways. You know, let's say anybody who is my 15th share about a 15th anniversary news story gets a special branded notebook. Easy, fun stuff like that. Or run a fun contest. If you refer 5 new members, then you get 5% off your next year's membership, if you can do that sort of thing. And then finally, crowdsourcing. Now, this is a little bit different than what we might know about crowdsourcing today, but I really like to get feedback from my members and what's going on with them. So I have created on my website areas for people to provide their own member testimonials. So if somebody got a job that was posted via my association's job board that they are really in love with, I want to hear their story. Or if somebody was at one of my events, I want to see their pictures. And crowdsourcing is a really fun way to get everybody involved and giving back to that online community that you've created. One of the things that we are doing with our association right now is building out a special 25th anniversary website. It's sort of like a micro website to our main website, and it's been really fun to see all of the old pictures and history initiatives that have come in via that crowdsourcing opportunity. All right. Let's talk a little. All of this is, I'm sure, very overwhelming. But it doesn't have to be. These can be really quick and easy changes that you can implement on your website in 20 minutes or less. But one of the things that I do want to talk about is our website design, designing with purpose. A lot of times, I know my association needs to get all of the information out there as quickly as possible. And so we put everything out there without thinking about the design of our website. And so we're trying to be much more purposeful in, how do we get our information to our members in a thoughtful way. A few things that I really like to promote are a minimalist design. We don't need a lot of extra colors, a lot of flashy backgrounds that distract. If we can keep a lot of white space on the edges, then that minimalist design will really draw readers in. It also helps when you see that the majority, for example, the majority of your visitors are coming from a phone or a smaller screen size like a tablet. That minimalist design can really pay dividends. I also like to use really light and airy fonts. I really like the sans serif fonts for websites. If you are thinking about changing the font on your website, Google has recently put out a bunch of new free use fonts. And I highly recommend going out there and seeing what they have and adding them to your website. I personally really am in love with Merriweather and Oswald. Those are 2 font names. They're kind of fun and quirky. Check them out and see if they would be a good fit within your font library. Just make sure that they fall within your brand standards and it should be good to go. So. Another thing I like to use are video backgrounds, especially if you have a static front page. If you can put a video background, and it can be something really light in the background, that helps to draw people's eyes in. Did we have a question?
Yes, we did. You talked about within the something about brand parameters. This person didn't quite catch the full word. Can you explain what that is? Making sure that font is within your brand.
Yes, your brand standards. Great. That's a great question. So a lot of associations, and hopefully yours as well, have brand standards. You know, that comes with, brand is more than just your logo. Your brand is your voice, it is your colors, it's your fonts, it's everything. So if you don't have brand standards, now's the time to write them, and there are tons of examples out on the web. And this just helps everything be consistent within the umbrella of your association. So let's say, for example, I am updating the website, and then Allison goes and updates my website, but she wants to use Comic Sans as a font. So Comic Sans does not fall within our brand standards. So I could just say, hey, that's not something that we allow for. So choose from one of the fonts that is within our brand standards. Like I said, it really helps with consistency. It helps everything stay clean and well organized. Your readers are more easily able to identify you as a specific brand and say, yes, I know exactly who I'm talking to, what I'm talking to them about, and why. So I hope that helps, but I could talk brand all day if I got the chance. So I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of brand talk. But go out and look for some examples of association brand standards, and you'll find some really great guidelines to help you form your own. Some other design ideas, infographics, icons, that sort of thing are really big in web design right now. Infographics have been around for a while, and I thought that they might wane in popularity, but really people still love them. They're easy to read. It's really easy information to digest quickly, and it's a great way for you to tell your story in a unique and different way. And when you share them socially, it's even better. And then finally, picture quotes. So over here on the right-hand side of the screen, I took the mission statement from NFPA and I just made it into a picture quote really quickly. I used a program called Canva. That's canva.com. It's a free program, easy to use, and it's a great way for you to visually add to what you want to say in the story that you want to tell. So let's say you want to promote a webinar. There is not a lot of stuff out there and not a lot of imagery out there that could help you to promote that webinar. But if you took the words of your webinar title and put it over what I would consider a free stock type of image, that would be a great way to draw people's eye in and get them more motivated to sign up. Again, that's canva.com, but there are a lot of free resources out there that you can use to do fun picture quotes. So I feel like I've overwhelmed you with a lot of information, a lot of stuff covered, and it's really just the tip of the iceberg. I don't recommend logging off this afternoon and trying to take on every single thing that I've covered. I do recommend breaking everything out and doing it time by time. I love this little 20 minutes on Tuesdays idea. So every Tuesday, find 20 minutes on your calendar and set it aside on your calendar and say, this is the time that I'm going to spend updating something on my website. Now that doesn't mean that you can only spend Tuesdays on your website, but that does mean that this is dedicated time for you. So let's say you don't have a content update that somebody has requested on a Tuesday afternoon. Okay, that means I am going to go in and I'm going to review my member benefits page and make sure it's still relevant. Make sure my price list is still correct. Maybe some of those static pages need to have their pictures changed out and updated because the pictures have been the same for 6 months. You know, people continue to visit your website pages even if you don't. And so you might not remember that that picture that you used to promote conference is from 2016. So go ahead and log in and do just a quick little audit of some of your most visited pages and go from there. The other suggestion, especially for volunteers, is Don't take it all on yourself. Get a website committee put together, or find 2 other eager volunteers who want to help out. Maybe break it down by job description. So you have somebody who's constantly reviewing content or providing new content. And then you have somebody who has a skill set in design who can help you, make those little infographics or picture quotes, or who can go in and say, hey, this image is no longer relevant, let's use this one instead. And then finally, maybe identify somebody who can help you to audit your pages. Find out what your most visited pages are and make sure that they're still the most relevant and that they are providing everything your end users want and need. The other thing that I like to cover when we're talking about auditing, and this one's really important, is have a non-member or somebody who's completely unrelated to your association go in and look at your website. Sometimes I'll enlist my husband to help me in this endeavor. I'll say, I want you to go out and I need you to do 4 things for me. I need you to find out who my current president is, find out when my board elections are going to be held, find out the next webinar that's going to happen and what the topic is, and then find out how I can join if I'm a student member. And so if you're having somebody who's not familiar with your field go in and audit for you, this is very helpful in finding your weak spots for you. Really wanted to cover this one and I wasn't sure we had enough time, but I'm going to cover it really quickly. So Google Analytics is free. And all you have to do is put a little bit of coding on the back end of your website. And if you have any trouble with this at all, anybody who helps to manage your website builder can help you add that Google Analytics code to the back end. So Google Analytics can tell you all sorts of things. It can tell you when people are visiting your page, your website the most, what your top 10 most visited pages are, if your top 10 has changed recently. So for example, on my website, my top 10 right now is different than what my top 10 was 2 months ago, because 2 months ago, people were visiting my websites very specifically to get to know the conference that was coming up. They wanted to know the schedule, they wanted to register, they wanted to make their hotel reservations, and those were very highly visited pages. However, now a lot of my pages are more focused on research initiatives and resources that we provide to our members, like career opportunities, that sort of thing. So as I said, Google Analytics is completely free. Just add it to the back end of your website and you can see that information change over time. It will take a little bit of time to populate and sort of see those trends changing. But once you've been in there for a while, it's very helpful. Google Analytics is very fun for the number nerds, as I like to call myself, and it really helps me see why people are coming to my website and also why people are leaving my website and how long they've been there. Generally, people stay on my website for 3 to 4 minutes. If I see that that number is going down and I see that people are leaving after 1.5 to 2 minutes, I think to myself, what are they not finding here that they need? And then I need to go in and adjust my content, adjust how my navigation system works to make them stay longer. So I just wanted to wrap up. Like I said, I know it's a lot to cover in a really short amount of time. My number one recommendation is to remember that people who visit your website are your customer, and you want to give them that customer service experience that will make them stick around. So imagine you're working with somebody face to face, and so you want that customer service experience to be as good face to face as it is on your website.
Thank you for joining us for this session of the Association Management Series, Give Your Members What They Want, tips and tricks to keep your website fresh. If you have any questions on this topic, please send those to info@rayborn.com. For more information on what services Rayborn Group International can provide to you, visit our website at www.rayborn.com.